wow, when they fire these big guns of the Delhi Capitals, they are something. They packed their top four with their overseas stars. They were expected to gun down a target, and they've managed to get 170 of the 182 needed in just 98 balls. They've made a mockery of RCB's first innings total of 181. It puts things in perspective for a Kohli innings that we will discuss, and for a Delhi Capitals resurgence that we must discuss. What a result this is for David Warner and co, and what an impact it may have on the points table. On Visit Saudi presents ESPNcricinfo T20 Time Out. Got Deep Dasgupta and Tom Moody. I'll be off to the Delhi, I think, after this. But what a happy time to be in the Delhi Capitals dugout, Tom. They're off the foot of the points table. That would mean so much for a team that for so long, since we took the points table seriously, has been rock bottom. And what a way to get that score, which you predicted they would.
Yeah, look, they'll be well pleased. There's no question of that. You know, no one likes to have that sort of run of losses, and you know, every time you open the paper or open your Cricinfo app and
Very
see
good.
yourself
Yeah.
on
Good
the
plug-in,
Yeah, let's get the plug-in right now, perhaps. Yeah. What app are you talking about? Yeah.
the Cricinfo app, and see yourself on the table and see yourself at the bottom with a distance between you and the rest. That is not a nice place to be. So they've rectified things. They've started to play well. That's by far their best performance. They've crept over the line with some scrappy wins, and this one was a convincing one. This was a proper beating. They played at a level we know they're capable of doing. And I think they highlighted the fact that there was a few more runs in that surface than what was on offer.
They lost 5 out of 5. They've now won 4 out of 5.
See, listen, there was never a doubt in terms of their quality.
Yes.
And even when they were losing 5 out of 5, we kept talking about how good this side is. They should bounce back. There is no dearth of quality in that squad. And they've stumbled upon a combination which has worked tonight. I mean, they were kind of forced in the absence of Nokia to play all 4 top-order batters.
Yeah.
And all 4 of them kind of have contributed to this victory. So, yeah, I mean, they still need to find the right combination. I think they're on their way finally to get something going in terms of combination. But, yeah, there was no doubt in terms of the quality they have in that squad.
Yeah. The very best of Phil Salt in the IPL. He's arrived.
Yeah, look, we've seen him do that in other platforms, whether it be for England, the odd time he, fits around that team, because he seems to be on the bench quite a bit there because of the depth of quality that England have in white ball cricket. Seen it in other tournaments around the world, but it's pleasing that you see a player like him and Riley Rousseau show what they can actually do and what they've been doing around the world in other tournaments, because they're blockbuster. Salt's got very quick hands. He's not a big guy, but he's strong. He's got a quick backswing. And as we saw, you get your length slightly wrong, and he's quick enough to get back with those quick hands and just whack it out of the ground.
Yeah. I thought once the spinners come on, that'll be a test for Salt. But he played Karan Sharma and Hasranga as well, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, that's the advantage of kind of having to play seamers first and then playing spin. And obviously, I mean, he's played well all over the world, which includes a lot of the conditions he must have come across where there would be spin friendly. But again, I mean, there were these talks of, in the absence of Rishabh Pant, actually going with Phil Salt from game 1. But they went against that thought process. But maybe they should have done that, actually, rather than, looking at Sarfaraz or Abhishek and all. Because I know for a fact there was this initial thought, why not go with Phil Salt? But they were thinking, maybe not in the top 4, as in for overseas. We'll see and all. But yeah, he's got quality. There's no two ways about that.
How important do you think that 5th over was, just in terms of momentum, when he's taken down, perhaps arguably the bowler of the tournament, Mohammed Siraj, Salt hitting him for 6-6-4, getting 19 off that. After that, it just looked like Delhi never looked back.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was a great bit of cricketing rivalry, if I could put it that way. That real intense bowler v bat, and you can't always have it your way. And Mohammed Siraj has bowled sensationally this tournament to date, and he'll probably continue to do so because he's a high-class bowler. But he just was reminded that that there can be days that you can be taken down, and that was a proper taking down. And the thing with Phil Salt is that he's such a brave player. He is, the last thing in his head is worrying about getting out. And you only have to look back. I think it was maybe not last innings, the innings before, he hit either his first or second ball straight to cover.
Yeah.
He flushed it
Yes.
right out of the middle of the bat, straight to cover. A lot of players would then go a little bit more conservative in their shell and think, oh, I just got to get myself in here. This is my first real IPL opportunity. I want to, be a bit more conservative and play for myself. There's nothing there. It was a case of full steam ahead into it, and he just took it on, and it was just a delight to watch.
I wonder, I mean, you're talking about the 5th over. I wonder if he should have bowled the 3rd over. He bowled the 1st. Then he came and bowled the 5th.
Yeah.
Whether he could have bowled the 3rd, Siraj. And also the lengths, I guess, they missed the lengths, the seamers, RCB seamers. I thought they were too short. Even that over, if you think about it, there was a pull, there was a slap over covers, which was again short of length. I don't think they got their lengths right. I mean, Siraj, if you look back and think about the wickets that he's got this season, especially with the new ball, the lengths were a lot fuller. He's got the ball to swing. Maybe wasn't getting much swing, so maybe that's the reason he had to pull the length back a bit. But I thought a lot of it could have been a little fuller.
Phil Salt created that pressure though.
Fair enough.
He came down the wicket at Siraj, then Siraj pulled his length back because he came at him. So he was the one that he reversed the pressure. We talk quite a lot in sport around, you're not holding the pressure or taking the pressure, you reverse the pressure, you do something that's proactive to put that person under pressure so they're not feeling comfortable. Mohammed Siraj so far, this tournament, because he's bowled beautifully, has run in control. He's been the conductor of the show. This occasion, he wasn't allowed to take that role because it was just taken away from him by Phil Salt. He was the one that was conducting proceedings.
All right. Like Deep points out, they had to play this combination given Anrik Noke's unavailability. We do not know whether or when he will be back. And like you rightly point out, Tom, our thoughts are with him. But now, given this has worked so successfully, they stick with this in their remaining 4. And how serious a threat are they? Curiously, they have just 2 teams to play. They play Chennai twice and they play Punjab twice. That's their run of games. And they've now won 4 out of 5. Could the unthinkable or unlikely or the miraculous return be on the cards?
You wouldn't count it out. We've seen crazier things in sport and in the IPL, for that matter. Whether they stick with this, top 4 overseas combination, it's tempting.
Yeah.
Because they're going to sort of put the shivers up a few teams. It's a bit like the Mumbai Indians approach.
Yes.
The Mumbai Indians approach is we're just going to go heavy with our batting and we're just going to outbat any team. Simple as that. We'll just get 20 more runs than you. Or you need to get 20 more runs if you're batting first because we're chasing it down. And that's what the scorecard reflected tonight.
And in fairness, they have better bowlers than the Mumbai Indians.
Oh, yeah.
They've got Khalil, they've got Akshar, they've got Kuldeep and Ishant.
Kuldeep.
Akshar,
So yeah, I mean, listen, they possibly, I mean, there's a strong possibility they can because again, I'm just going back to that same thing. They've got quality. They've got the resources to do it. But yeah, I mean, 4 out of 4 is possible. But you've got a couple of games against Chennai. Punjab, you never know. I mean, that's a very unpredictable.
Exactly.
It's a very unpredictable side.
Well, they're a dangerous side too.
If they can get the 4 wins, they'll also be taking 4 points off Chennai, which Tom points out at this stage of the tournament now. It's a double win. You've also served a dent on the chances of another team who's vying for a playoff spot. But the Super Kings look very good, especially after that win against the Mumbai Indians. But leave everything else aside, Delhi are alive and they're off the foot of the table, which would mean the world to them. And now let's talk about Bangalore, shall we? Who find themselves in that mid-table jam of 10 points from 10 games. This would have given their net run rate a bit of a beating too, and it might very well come down to that for what looks likely now a 3rd and 4th playoff spot. But let's put the first innings in perspective. Tom said in his opening comments that we've got evidence now that they should have got a few more. So we go back to the Kohli innings, and what do we learn from it?
I think, again, without actually being there and knowing how the surface played the first innings against the second innings, I don't think it played much different, just from observation, because quite a few balls did keep low in that second innings, and to be fair, there was a little bit of luck as well in that run chase. But then again, you make your luck, don't you, by being brave and adventurous. I just think the way I read the Kohli innings, the way I read the RCB approach is still yesterday's approach or last year's approach. Now we have an impact player The game's changed. We already have evidence of that, a snapshot of that, with a number of teams that have scored over 200. There's a record number of 200 plus scores of any IPL. We're not even close to the finish.
Yeah.
So it's clearly there's a weighting of another 20 runs on most innings. Depending if you get stuck on a Lucknow surface, that's a different story.
Yeah.
But we're clearly seeing that more runs are required because of the depth that every team's got. So when it comes to that sort of anchor type role of making sure you get to a position where you secure a solid number, which is 181, is that a winning number? No, it's not. Not the way that the game's been played now, because of the depth and the flexibility every team has with this impact rule.
Okay, I've got a few questions. Let me hear your thoughts first.
Yeah, but I also think it's got to do with the confidence that you have of that impact player, if you have one, that is. I mean, if you look at that middle order, that hasn't fired. And even impact player, you get, I don't know, whoever you get Kedar or someone as an impact player, you don't know what you're going to get from him. So was that kind of affecting the top three? I mean, it's not going to affect Maxwell, he's going to bat the way he does. But I wonder if that affects Faf and Virat, whoever survives the first six. Is it kind of their game plan that, we'll try and go hard the first six, whoever survives, let's try and bat deep, one of us, whoever survives after six. I don't know whether that's the game plan or not. Because, I mean, to be honest, they haven't got any contribution till now. Obviously, Lomro, this innings and the last one. And maybe that might force them to change their plans if that was their plan.
All right, so let's take Deep's point first as one of the questions to understand why Kohli was cautious. And is that down to the lack of confidence you have in the rest of the batting, which we have said time and again through the course of the season has not been firing. So they could be stuck for well below 180 if Kohli increases the risk element and gets out. Then you've got 4 or 5 guys that are not performing. Today Lomro fired. But is that a good enough reason for him to slow down and just control the innings?
I'll ask the question back to both of you. How many times has that middle order had the opportunity to be tested? I don't think they've had that many opportunities to be questioned whether they're good enough or not. What we have seen is that number 3 position being a problem for them. But that middle order that you're referring to has had very little opportunity over this tournament to date to really, stand up and have an opportunity to prove you whether they are capable or they're not capable. I still feel that if you're thinking that I'm concerned about the rest, you've got a losing mindset before you start. You cannot be concerned about what others may or may not do. You've got to trust and back the people that are behind you, and you've got to play the brand that's required to compete with the tournament and the tempo the tournament's going.
Okay.
And I don't think RCB have done that today.
Okay, let me change that up now and compare Faf and Kohli, because I think when we've seen Faf bat deep into the innings, he bats at a different tempo. Now, is it fair to expect Kohli to bat at that tempo as well, looking at the players that they are? And we also put into perspective conditions today where there is some observation that it was harder to bat earlier on. Regardless, is Kohli a good enough player? And you certainly think he is, to transcend those conditions and still increase the tempo of the middle overs when he's the man who's carrying it forward if Faf and Maxwell have gone like it was today.
Look, there's no question Virat Kohli is one of the greatest players of all time. There's no question of that. Has he the ability to maintain that tempo from power play into middle overs? Absolutely. How many times we've seen him score IPL hundreds and just absolutely dismantle sides. You only have to take yourself back to that 2016, I think it was, where he got over 900 runs, nearly 1,000 runs. This guy's got some serious gears, but whether it's his mindset or whether it's the management that want him to play that role because of the uncertainty of how their order unfolds, we don't know that. We don't know what's happening internally. It may be the instruction. Okay, Faf and Virat, I want you to go hard in that first 6. Get us off to a flyer. Okay, have they done that? Tick. Absolutely, they've done that. Okay, Virat wants you to make sure we secure those middle overs and then we go hard at the back. That may be their strategy.
Yeah, that's what.
You know, that may well be their strategy. And if that's the case, that's another tick because they're doing that well.
Yeah.
And Faf's role is more to maintain, to be that aggressive, be that aggressor. All my point is, I think the game's changed. I think the game with this impact play has changed, where there's no room for that person to play that anchor role from 7th over to the 15th over to secure those overs where you're going, ticking along at 7.5, 8 and over. I think you need to be going 8.5, 9, and in some venues more to compete with a total that's going to be competitive at the end of the day.
But that's my point. I mean, so their impact player was Kedar Jadhav, let's say, today. So do you have that confidence in him? I mean, he's coming in first game. Apart from Lomror, Anuj Rawat's been given an opportunity, not too many though, 2, 3 of them.
Sorry to interrupt, but if you don't have confidence in him, don't pick him.
But do they have a choice? That's the point. I mean, I completely understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But what I'm also trying to say here is okay, let's say this way. Let's put it this way, 181. Were you happy at that point in time? Were you thinking, 81 is a competitive score and should
I said it was a pass score, and I said DC would win. That was my comments at the halftime, purely on the basis that I felt that with the top four that DC had, and the way that they play, I felt that total wasn't enough.
Because just looking at the way they chased it down, I mean, even 210 wouldn't have been enough.
Yeah, I think they got on a roll though, didn't they?
Yeah,
they got an exceptional roll. I don't. It was a good score, that the 181. But I think that they probably left 10 to 15 runs out there. There's no question of that. Chasing 195 against chasing 180 is a different ball game psychologically.
So can I ask you this question, because you've been integral part of an IPL team. So when you're batting first, so what are the phases and how do you assess a pass score batting first? Do you have boxes that you have set?
I think the old-fashioned style, yes. I think you have a template of, right, okay, we want to be, minimise wickets in the power play. Let's look for a pass score. It's going to be about 45. If we can get to 45, that's a tick. Anything above that's great. But if we're playing in Bangalore, for instance, it may have to be something between 50 and 60. So you do have that sort of goal to try to or marker to try to make. And then in the middle overs, you might have another strategy around, okay, well, let's manage their spin, particularly Hasaranga is going to be difficult, or a Chahal or a Rashid Khan, let's manage them and deny them wickets and make sure you get 1 and over off them, and then catch up against some other bowlers where all I'm saying is, and I'm only making this observation with a very fresh set of eyes on a new rule that's come into this year's IPL.
Okay.
With this impact player, I think the landscape's changed. And I think that old template, which you're going to win probably 60% of your games over a tournament, I don't think that works anymore. I think you need to change it up and have a slightly different approach, which some teams are doing well and some teams aren't.
Okay, let me just add Faf du Plessis' post-match comments to this chat. Fascinating one that it is. Faf says he thought the first inning score was close to par. He thought 185 would be a good score. He mentions that there was a little bit of dew in the second innings. And he does say that we didn't maximize our innings. So at about 12 overs, he says we felt like 185 was a par score, and you need one of those big overs to take you to 200, which would have been a good score. So those are Faf du Plessis' post-match comments.
Thank you, Faf.
Yes. And now I'm bringing in perspective what you point out, which is, I guess what we're asking is, can Kohli be changing his template when he goes in the middle overs? You say that he should be ideally looking to go 8.5, 9 and not 7.5, 8. And I'm just trying to think whether the game needs to be read differently by batters, where you look at them from how many times they attempt boundaries, how many times they execute attempting those boundaries. Because that's, I guess, something that you would like to see. Perhaps that's the conversation to have, that maybe you could you could increase your risk percentage by that much. Try and go for a boundary every 3 balls or every 4 balls, something like that.
Yeah, look, again, every player is going to be very different the way they approach it. One thing I think is really important in looking at the way the tempo of the game the games that are being played this year, is that the teams that are doing it well are attacking the front end of an over. So they're putting pressure on you right from the get-go. So ball one, ball two, you've got a target on your back from a bowling perspective. And that to me is quite a smart strategy in, trusting your game, knowing where your boundary options are. Everyone knows that, I feel comfortable hitting over extra cover, or, Sky may think, well, that's my go-to shot. Tripathi's the same, or it might be mid-wicket. Whatever it is, I don't care what it is, but have your options that you know where your boundaries are, and you're also going to have your preferred bowler. So if Deep and I are batting, and there might be you bowling at me, and I think, well, I don't fancy this guy. I've never ever had any sort of rhythm against him, but I'm going to knock you for one. Deep's going to say, well, I can take him down. Okay, I'll try to target two boundaries. That type of thing has to happen. So what you're doing is you're controlling the tempo of the game. Instead of knock one, and suddenly your over's gone for 6 or 7, and it's just a wayside. And I haven't got you for a boundary. Deep hasn't got you for a boundary. We lost opportunity. So there's one boundary we're short. So we've got a 1 off it, but we're missing 3 runs.
But the other thing in that innings, if you think about it, let's say Aksar's over, they're very conservative because they don't have good records against left-arm spin. So Aksar, I believe, bowled 2 overs in the first 7. And he was, I think, 10 or 11 or maybe around 12 in his first 2 overs, which included 1 over in the power play. I think he bowled the second or second over, if I'm not wrong. So again, those matchups. If you're talking about 10, 15 runs, straight away you look at those Aksar's numbers, 3 overs or whatever, were very good because both the batters, because they don't fancy a left-arm spinner, played them out.
I'd like to be interested to see the percentage of who faced the most balls out of those 2 overs you're referring to. But I'll argue back or discuss back with you that past history is not relevant to what happens today.
Firstly, Akshar bowled all his overs out in the first 9, right?
Yeah,
so
there you go.
I mean, we could
And
also
he went
take.
forward.
Yeah, he was 3 overs for 17.
Yeah.
Now the other thing we could do here is actually assess the game after the wicket of Faf du Plessis, which you sense is the big sort of, and Faf and Maxwell falling back to back. Whether that had further impact on Kohli's approach.
Absolutely.
Right? Because he effectively thinks, I'm the last form batter here. I don't know Lomro's going to get 50. So if I don't bat deep, we're probably getting 140. Now after that, there's a boundary of the first ball from Kohli to Ishant Sharma in the 13th. And after that, it's Lomro taking down Kuldeep Yadav. But beyond that, you never get those first few balls for boundaries that I'm guessing give you the 20-run over that Faf du Plessis is talking about. You've never put yourself in that position. So I guess that, and at that point, the fact that Lomro has actually got a 50 odd of 25 balls, it also puts in perspective that perhaps Kohli could have trusted him more or gone.
But he got off to a flyer, didn't he? So once he got to 15 or 20 off half the deliveries, you can then sort of think, okay, my man's away. Let's join the party. I'm going to bang a few away too here and find my boundaries. And Virat Kohli at a drop of a hat can find a boundary. He's got every shot in the book. He's an artist out there.
Yeah.
But I think it's that uncertainty and confidence in what's in behind him. And it's a good point about the back-to-back wickets, about Maxwell. That sort of sends a shudder through the camp. We got Faf gone, who's our orange cap holder at the moment. We got now Maxwell, our one of our match winners, gone suddenly. Wow, okay, here we go. But I think once Lomro showed that, right, I'm away, and I'm even when he was 20 off 10.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
My many years of being in this chair and getting significant feedback from the Kohli fans has taught me some things, many things, which is we do a good discussion on Kohli, which we have, and then we take the spotlight away and go to the rest. Because if you wouldn't mind one guy getting you as many runs as Kohli is, and then the occasional day where he doesn't get the gears right, and then we go to Dinesh Karthik now at this point.
Just a quick one, just to finish on that. I don't think this is about Kohli, in my view. This is not about a personal thing about Virat Kohli, because Virat Kohli, his record speaks for itself. To me, it's more around a template, how to play T20 cricket in this year's IPL.
Sure, 100%.
That, to me, what the discussion's about.
Yep, and now we'll just sort of take it to perhaps different ways of skinning the cat, that perhaps this is the RCB way. They don't have the firepower that today we saw Delhi bring to the table. They have a different way to get 200. And part of that last year, with their successful year, relied heavily on Dinesh Karthik, and that's just not happening. This is another game where Karthik's not been able to make a 30 of 12 or 13 balls.
Yeah.
And he's also had a catch gone down, which is a shame of Phil Salt, which has effectively cost them the game. That one less gun firing, is it costing RCB, do you sense? The finish that they had last year and they're not getting.
Well, to be honest with you, the last season was an outlier, wasn't it? It was an extraordinary year, and he hasn't had a year like that.
Either before or...
Yeah, he's had a couple of good years, but that was a total outlier that's just... You know, where's this come from? No one saw it coming, and it was a remarkable year, and credit to the player. This year, to me, we're seeing a player that is got 1 foot on the cricket field and 1 foot in his future career. You know, and you know, whether we like it or not, the IPL, or we like it, the fact that it is the hardest tournament in the world. And it is not a place that you can not be fully committed. And I'm not saying he's not committed to the campaign, but have the cricketing, you know, behind you coming into the tournament. You know, the volume of competition behind you.
Unless you're Dhoni, but yes.
Yeah, well, you get the odd freak.
That this is perhaps hurting. If they are to miss out, they will look at this one key aspect of last year which fired, which has not come to the party in that stage.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, I'm okay, let's take what you said about Faf, as in what he said, the post-match. So if you're looking at 15 runs, I'm going to definitely look at that aspect, and I'm going to look at that Aksar 3 overs as well, where they were very conservative. And like, you get 10-15 there itself in that aspect. I mean, these two parts of the game, the last, let's say, 4-5 overs, and the initial 3 overs that Aksar bowled. And because something that you mentioned, Raunak, is one is you're trying, but you're not getting it. You know, you're trying to play shots, but you're hitting straight to the fielders. You can't find the gaps. Things like that can happen. Might not be your day. But was there enough intent against Aksar? I know, as Tom mentioned, those numbers are in the past, but maybe that's something that was playing on their mind. And for me, I think this whole thing, you can't look at it in isolation. You've got to look at it from how they've been performing. In the last few games, who all have been performing, who's not been performing. So you're talking about impact player. I mean, even if they did not have an impact player, if the impact player rule wasn't there, it wouldn't have affected them much. There's some franchises who've got that extra advantage because they've got players as impact players. They can come in. I mean, listen, if for example, if the impact player sub rule wasn't there, it would have been Harshal batting, and he would have done maybe the same thing that Anuj Rawat would do. I mean, he opens for Haryana. He's a decent bat.
All right. Why don't I make it simpler? Why don't they just chase? So they know.
100%.
Exactly.
Yeah, they won the toss today. They batted first. And clearly, if Faf talks about due and whatnot, then it puts in perspective. Perhaps they got something else wrong today, Tom.
Well, it's interesting he mentions due because there may have been a little bit of due, but I didn't see any evidence of the bowler having to, with the towel wiping the ball down, and which is when we've seen, real issues with due. There may have been an element of due there that might have helped the ball skid on a little bit onto the bat, but it wasn't that obvious that we saw players sliding around with towels in their hands, drying the ball and throwing it back to the bowler.
And Karn Sharma got the ball to turn quite a bit.
Yeah. So he bowled an absolute peach to get Salt out.
Yeah. So pinch of salt.
Yeah. They don't always tell us the entire truth at the end. They give us their version of what they believe led to it. But anyway, we love Faf du Plessis, we love RCB, but they got this one wrong. And you look at certain aspects, you look at our lovely overs tab on the ESPNcricinfo Scorecard page, you'll be able to assess the game yourself. Faf was happy with where they were when they started, but there was a period between overs 7 and 11. That's 5 overs where they got around a ball at about 32, and they finished with just 15 of the last 2 overs. So well done to Mukesh Kumar and Khalil for finishing off the way they did, and I guess that's what we should probably bring up. We give the Delhi team quite a bit, but they actually finished a game well when there were batters that were firing and going hard like Lomrod.
Well, that phase you're talking about in the middle there, what was that, 5 overs for
5 overs, 32 runs.
See, that you do your review of that game.
Yeah, there you go.
That's where they've lost the game. That's where they haven't maximised their total. And at the end, those 2 overs at the end, you're hoping to get 10 and over, aren't you? You're hoping to get 20 off those last 2.
Yeah.
Particularly at a place like Delhi where the ball disappears.
Yeah.
You know,
I thought
to
Mitch
all
was
pockets.
really good. Mitch came in and bowled a couple of overs.
Mitch Marsh.
So this was actually before. The 11th was the over where Mitch Marsh got the double blow. So this was Faf and Kohli batting together. In 5 overs, they got 32.
Yeah.
So again, I would look at that phase, Mitch's overs, Aksar's overs, if I'm looking at those, looking for those 10, 15, 10, 15 extra runs, Aksar, Mitch, those overs.
Yeah, so it's not connected to an inexperienced player at the other end. You've still got your main guns at the crease when they're going run a ball.
All right, yep, food for thought for RCB. Maybe they'll be better off chasing and what's left of their campaign. They're still very much in it. So we'll have one more look at that points table before we wrap things up. It's been a fascinating discussion with Tom Moody and Deep Dasgupta. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 teams have played 10 and sit on 10 points. And but for the showers in Lucknow, Lucknow might have been there as well, because Chennai would have fancied a chase of 126 the other day on Wednesday afternoon. So now you got 5 teams there, and let's assume that the top 3 go through. Can we even assume that? I want to ask you guys which one of these teams, which is 10 points and 10 matches, and look at the net run rate, who looks best suited to clinch a playoff spot?
To clinch a playoff or to
I mean, if I'm asking you for just one spot, then that's 1 out of 5. If we throw Lucknow into it and say 6 teams, 2 spots, who looks likely?
For me, I think at this point in time, it seems like Gujarat and Chennai should make it through, and very good chance of making through. I'm not too sure about the others, though. I mean, the top 4. I mean, Rajasthan, 4 defeats in 5. Meghans not firing.
I'd love to be Lucknow.
Yeah, with that one extra point.
That little sneaky point there. Oh, dear me. They're looking at that table thinking, whew, that's a win.
Yeah.
That's effectively a win.
Yeah, it takes your net run rate out of it.
Which is crazy when you think about it. That's going to be a big decider when it comes to this Final 4.
You know what? They have a tough run in Lucknow Super Giants. They've got SRH and KKR, so you can make your own opinions. KKR are a dangerous team, as we know. And they've got GT tomorrow afternoon. How big is that game? Otherwise, all of a sudden, we're looking at the Lucknow Super Giants very differently. And it's Super Giants now without their captain, without KL Rahul. Karun Nair's been called in. We'll wait to see if he gets a game tomorrow. But that's it. Let's get a quick 2 teams from here. We've finished 50 games of the IPL, gentlemen. I think it's safe to say everyone believes Gujarat and Chennai will go through. Let me get your next 2. We can keep plugging this. Tom has gone for Rajasthan pre-tournament. Let me see if that still stands.
Arsenal and Manchester United.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Raunak, that's an impossible question.
Oh, come on.
You know, it's like throwing a dart in the night. Okay, I think Rajasthan are going to respond after losing 4 out of the last 5. I see Rajasthan, one of them, I see Lucknow.
Okay, you see Rajasthan and Lucknow joining Chennai and Gujarat, so it stays what it looks like. Deep?
I think Mumbai.
Wow. Okay. Who have 3 home games out of their remaining 4.
Yeah, and hopefully they'll chase.
Yeah.
So Mumbai, and somehow I get Lucknow, I guess. Yeah, I think LSG, they've got enough.
You think Rajasthan will miss out and RCB will also miss out?
I just have a feeling because, I mean, this is that period in the tournament where you can spiral downwards quite quickly, which Rajasthan Royal are. I mean, there were like 4 wins in the first 5, and now there are 4 losses in the next 5. Top Guns, Joss. I mean, listen, the Joss or Sanju has to fire from here on. They need a spark, which is quite evidently is missing.
Yeah, you guys can just tell me who it is. You don't need to do it.
Yeah, so fair enough. So, okay, yeah.
Just don't give me any reasons.
So, like I said, Mumbai and LSG.
Wow, Mumbai and Lucknow, he says.
Who did I say?
You said
I'm joking.
You picked Arsenal, which is not a 3 and 4 conversation anymore.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Who are Arsenal?
We're a top 2 team now. And I wish the English Premier League had playoffs. Top 2 get to play each other and then play 3 and 4 player final.
This is a cricket platform.
All right, and we'll stick to that. Thank you very much, Tom Moody and Deep Dasgupta. Fascinating, right? Let me throw the spanner in the works, as my good friend Ravi Shastri says. Delhi. Let's say Delhi will do the unthinkable. They'll win. No, they won't. No, they've got 2 of Chennai. I forgot, and I picked Chennai to win, so can't get that wrong. Who cares? But it's 50 games done, and yet it is so hard to pick a top 4. It tells you how good this tournament has been, and we look forward now to what should be a thrilling end to the league stage. Join us tomorrow. Gujarat and Lucknow have so much to play for, especially the Super Giants. That's the afternoon game. And boy, Rajasthan Royals, they would be desperate for 2 points against the Sunrisers Hyderabad, who also need to respond. That's a franchise that can take inspiration from what's happened with Delhi tonight. Join us for Visit Saudi presents ESPNcricinfo T20 Time Out then, just after 3 o'clock. And check out the mobile app that Tom Moody always refers to and has a look at the points table, the net run rate, the remaining fixtures. Sure, there'll be plenty said from both camps after tonight's game in Delhi. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night.